Right then, quick one today. 5 cheap cycle gadgets, all from AliExpress and all under 10 quid. So yeah, let's go. My name, as always, is Luke, and welcome back to Trace Fellow. Okay, right, I'd like to apologise for looking so haggard on camera today. I don't think this purple jumper is doing me any favours, but my daughter has been bringing back a plethora of wonderful illnesses from nursery the last few weeks, and I think it's finally starting to catch up with me. So yeah, do bear with. Anyway, torque wrenches, right? A pretty vital bit of kit when dealing with a carbon road bike. Like this one, you don't want to massively over tighten any bolts or fasteners. And this one was just £7.50p.
Now, unfortunately, it's not this one. It's this, a beam style torque wrench. The bending of the handle as you tighten things down will indicate the torque rating on this small chart. So this one goes from 3 to 10 Newton meters. So yeah, basically ideal for most of the smaller bolts on your bike, like stem clamps or seat post bolts. So it's obviously not a precision tool. It's not going to be particularly accurate, but from what I've seen, it'll definitely get you in the ballpark. So I've tested it against this decent torque wrench that I've used for a few years at this point, and if anything, it slightly over tightens things, but not drastically. So let me demonstrate.
Okay, I've got these handlebar clamping bolts here. Let's get them done up to 6 Newton meters. Okay, great. So you're obviously trying to look head on and basically line this pointer up until you see the 6, well, the line associated with 6 Newton meters. So let's keep going, just past 4 there, just past 5. We're looking for 6, and boom, we just hit 6. Let's check this with my other torque wrench. Right, so I've got this thing set to 6 Newton meters there, so let's give it a go. And yeah, we're past 6, let's bump it up. Right, we've bumped this up to 7, and it's nearly there. It's just over 7, I think. Okay, right, I've bumped it up to 7.4. It's quite difficult to demonstrate, but if we go, yeah, so it's turning. So it's between 7 and 7.4, so not too bad, to be fair.
It comes with a selection of really common bits, including a T25 Torx, which is used on most 6-bolt disc brake rotors. The wrench itself is only 48 grams, and with bits, it comes to just 89. So yeah, perfect to stick in with your bike packing gear, or even take out with you on a ride.
Again, this is not a precision workshop instrument, but if you're kind of not used to gauging the torque by feel, then this is going to be better than just eyeballing the tightness when you're out and about. So to be honest, I don't normally carry one of these out with me when I go out on a bike ride, but this one is so small and compact, you can just fit it and forget it.
So if your chain snaps, or maybe when the chain gets jammed, one of the links gets kinked or bent in a crash potentially, you'll need to remove that broken link and either limp home or get to a bike shop. So you'll need a chain breaker, and this thing lives inside the handlebars. It's tiny and weighs just 17 grams. Plus, you get these nice aluminium bar end caps with it. And I've actually bought these things separately in the past because I think they look quite nice. This one was just £5.15p, and it's actually really well made. The body is all anodized aluminium. So let's see it in action.
So you've pulled this out of your bar. Let's give it a go. Right, so let's say you want to break it right here. Let's pop that in like so, and screw this down to lock it all in. Let's break this chain. I think that is done. And voila, yeah, one broken chain.
Now you can tighten everything down so it doesn't rattle inside your bars, and it fits inside all 3 of the drop bars that I've tried it on. The one drawback I can see, because of this rounded profile that the chain link sits inside, it probably won't work on those flat top SRAM chains.
That aside though, this is a pretty cool little piece of kit. Could be an absolute lifesaver in a pinch. Okay, so if you work on carbon or even aluminium bike frames, this is an absolute must-have, a cable routing tool. This one was just £3.90p and makes running cables through integrated frames or handlebars an absolute breeze.
It comes with a few adapters and works on naked gear or brake cables, hydraulic brake hose, gear cable housing, brake cable housing, and even Di2 cables. The cable itself is flexible and rubber coated, so it won't scuff up your paint, and it's all magnetic. That's how you route it all through. I didn't have one of these for a few years, but working on virtually any bike made in the last 15-20 years, it's absolutely indispensable.
Okay, so this thing needs no introduction. If you own literally any bike, you got to have one of these, a chain wear gauge.
Most of the cheap ones only measure 0.75 or 1% wear. Now that's fine for anything 10 speed or under, but generally for 11 and 12 speed bikes, once your chain is over 0.5% wear, it'll need replacing. If you leave it, shifting performance will drastically decline, and at 0.75% wear on 11 or 12 speed drivetrains, chances are you'll be replacing the cassette along with the chain, so definitely worth keeping on top of this. This one is very similar to the Park Tool CC2 CC2 chainwear gauge and cost me just £3.59. I've actually tested it against my Park Tools CC4 gauge, which is very precise, and yeah, it's spot on, really accurate.
So I've got the Park Tools CC4. I basically trust this with my with my life, and this chain is a bit busted. It's pretty worn out. So let's pop that in there, and you can see it pretty easily fails 0.5, but not quite 0.75. And let's try another link here. Pop that up there. Yeah, same again. So fails 0.5, not quite 0.75. Okay, let's give this ride race one a go. So I'll pop that on the chain like so. And if I give this a quick tap there, hopefully you can see, yeah, between 0.5 and 0.75 on the wear for that particular set of links. And I'll move it up the chain a little bit. So pop that in there. And once again, give that a tap, and yeah, between 0.5 and 0.75. So this drivetrain is an 11-speed one, so this chain definitely needs replacing. But yeah, all in all, pretty accurate. Okay, so like I said, this thing is really cheap at £3.59p, but if you can stretch to it, this Park Tool CC4 chainwear gauge is absolutely excellent, and you can usually pick it up for about 15, maybe 20 quid. Okay, so this thing is wicked. I wish I had it years ago, to be honest with you. So when setting up a bike for the first time, I'd always eyeball the alignment of that front wheel in relation to the handlebars, but I'd inevitably get it slightly off kilter and end up having to pull over to the side of the road and kind of fiddle about with the alignment. But this laser alignment gizmo was just £8.15p.
So this bike, I actually covered it in the last episode, and yeah, I was really chuffed with the response that episode got. You guys seemed to really love it, and the comments were also lovely, so yeah, thank you for that. Honestly, really cool. But anyway, I installed the new group set on this bike a few months back, and again, I just eyeballed the front wheel. It's always felt ever so slightly off though, but have a look at this.
So yeah, I did always feel like the front wheel was ever so slightly off by a degree or two, but because it was quite minimal, I never really sorted it out. But yeah, check this out. So I've clipped this onto the front here, and if I switch this on, boom, look at that, it's clearly off. So it's not centered, it's kind of veered over this way ever so slightly. So I'm gonna undo these bolts and get this thing centered.
Changing alignment.
Okay, right, look at that, all sorted, straight down the middle there. But it's not just the front wheel, you can also use this to align your saddle as well. So all I've done is flip this the other way up, so the laser points towards the back of the bike. And if I line it up with the center of the seat post, like so, hopefully you can see the laser sits ever so slightly further towards this side of the saddle. Basically, the saddle is pointing ever so slightly that way, not by a lot, but on a long ride, it could make a bit of a difference. So I'm gonna get that nicely centered as well. But yeah, really useful bit of kit.
Okay, quick bonus one at the end here. So riding tubeless, I usually carry this Dynaplug kit to fix any larger punctures. It's great, but not crazy cheap, and refills can be quite expensive. This one was £3 and comes with 15 tubeless plugs. It comes in a nice aluminium case with a rubber seal to keep the moisture out, and it's tiny. I've used these tubeless plugs maybe 3 times in the last 5 years, but it's always worth having these on you when riding tubeless. Can make the difference between getting back home or getting on the bus.
Okay, right, couple of cool little cycle gadgets there for you. So subscribe if you like this kind of thing, hit the like button if you liked it, I guess. And yeah, that'll do. Right, I think my daughter's just got back from nursery, so I wanted to go and make her dinner. Maybe if I'm lucky, she'll have brought back another lovely illness from my body to just ingest while I'm at it. But no, obviously love it a bit. But yeah, wish me luck. Right, anyway, that's it. See you next time. Ciao, ciao, ciao.
It's the bonus clip time.
Okay, one more at the end here, and I guess it's more aimed at the commuters among you, really. But they were so cheap, I had to pick them up and see what they were like. So it's these, right? It's mirrors you put in your bar end caps here. I'm sure you're very familiar with them. This one is quite nice and large, and you can kind of move it around and then secure this in place. And it is really useful. I've not really used them before, but I've been using them for the last couple of rides. And when you've got a big mirror there, it is good to be able to see the traffic directly behind you by just kind of looking down. But you know, even though this was really, really cheap, I think it was like £2.20p delivered. Yeah, it is arguably quite large and does look a bit odd on a kind of more racy bike like this. But check this one out right here. Okay, so this little mirror is absolutely minuscule in comparison to this much larger one, right? But in reality, the actual field of view you get out of this mirror is pretty much the same as you get on this much smaller one here, right? And when I first put this on, I thought it would be utterly useless. But I'll put up some footage of me riding around earlier on this afternoon. It's much more usable than I thought it would be. They basically serve exactly the same purpose, right? All you need to do is glance down to check if there's a car behind you. It's not like you're going to study things intently on either mirror. And admittedly, things are much clearer on this large one here. But you know what? This does look a little bit goofy, really, on a bike like this. The cool thing about this one, right, is that when you're kind of done with it, you can basically stow it away. So say you're going to a race, you can stow it away like so, keep it out of the way. And then if you're kind of riding back home, just pop that back out and swing it around and you're on your way. So yeah, I wouldn't normally look at stuff like this, but this thing was just so quirky, and it's £2.70p delivered to my house. I thought it was a really cool little gadget. So yeah, I'll put the links for both those down in the description down below. But yeah, not my usual fare, but I did think that one was pretty cool. Anyway, enough of that. I'll see you next time.